foreign policy questions, but just to follow up on Jackie's question, if Supreme Court reform does not pass, and it seems unlikely under this Congress that it will, what does the president hope his effort will accomplish? Is it to get the American people used to the idea of the need of reform? Is it a message to Justice Roberts? What does he think this would lead to?
I will say majority of the American people support and want to see reform, right? They want to see this. This is where majority of Americans are. And I will say this, the president and the vice president believe that the rule of law is the foundation of our democracy. It is the foundation of our democracy, which is why the president took action yesterday, and he's calling on Congress to do the same. Now, what we welcome is a debate. As we've seen many times as the president introduced legislation or some ideas on how the direction of a legislation that's important to the American people. We see a healthy debate. I listed out moments ago when I was having a back and forth with Jackie here, conservative legal experts who support, for example, term limits. And so I think that was important to note. Senator Marco Rubio, who I also mentioned, who's obviously a current senator in the US Senate, supports term limits. So there are ways that we can work together. I'm not going to get into what that legislation is going to look like. We're going to have a healthy debate. We think that's important. But we're talking about the rule of law here. We're talking about the rule of law, which is the foundation of our democracy. The president is going to say something. The president is going to make sure that is protected, as he has done. That is one of the reasons he decided to run. That is one of the reasons of the work that we were able to do. 2022, the rule of law, democracy, was one of the top issues that Americans cared about.
Would it also be a message to Justice Roberts?
I'm not going to get into messages to the Chief Justice. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the right thing to do. We're talking about the right thing to do here.
And on the foreign policy side, there's reporting that North Korea could conduct another nuclear test to coincide with the U.S. election, the presidential election. How concerned is the administration about this? Is this a real threat? Do you have a message to Pyongyang?
I'm just not going to get into hypotheticals from here. What's your next question?
On today's sanctions on Iran that Treasury announced, individuals and entities related to its ballistic missiles and drones program. Can you speak about the timing? Today, the Iranian new president is being sworn in by the parliament.
So look, what I can say, this is something that the Department of Treasury did. They announced new sanctions, as you just said, targeting 5 individuals and 7 entities based in Iran, the PRC, Hong Kong, that have facilitated procurements behalf of Iran's military forces. The designated entities have been involved in procuring key components of Iran's ballistic missiles and UAV program. These sanctions are part of, you've heard us talk about sanctions before, especially in the last 3.5 years. They're part of our ongoing efforts to counter Iran's destabilizing activities, including its arming of proxies in the Middle East and its enabling of Russia's war in Ukraine. You've heard talk about this. Again, this is part of announcements that ongoing efforts that we've had here in this administration, and that's how I would view it.
Nothing specific on the timing.
It's ongoing. This has been ongoing sanctions that we've had throughout this administration.